Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. It's been a while since I talked to you, and so I thought it was time to get a video out. I think it's been about 3 weeks, and I have no idea why. I've had lots of ideas for videos in my head, and I just haven't found the time to record them. We had the end of the semester at school, and so I was trying to cram in all the grades that need to be caught up and graded, and kids were bringing in late work, and that was a never-ending battle. So we just got done this week with our first week of the semester, and so this week I've been a little bit more free. But at the same time, over this last month and a half, I guess, my wife had started a new job, and she's now working at the school with me, and so we both go in at 7 o'clock, which is like an hour later than what I would normally go in. And so it's just kind of, it's thrown everything off. It's thrown off my scheduling. And so in my head, I'm trying to wrap around how I'm going to get videos out. I'm going to have to find a new time to record. And maybe maybe that'll be just recording on Saturdays and Sundays, and then, getting them coming out throughout the week, just setting the scheduling. That's probably what I'm gonna have to do. But anyway, long story short, I got quite a bit to talk about, and I might end up breaking this up into several videos. But first of all, last weekend I had my BookTube birthday, and celebrated 3 years on BookTube, and that was pretty awesome feeling to know that I lasted this long. Doesn't seem like it. It seems like I've only been on a couple months, but it's been 3 years that I've been able to record videos and get those uploaded, and just enjoy the conversation in the comments and through Voxer and email, and now Discord, because now I'm on Discord with our Historathon 2023. So anyway, it's been it's been neat, coming through 3 years of BookTube, learning how to create videos, how to create content, just the new technologies and I know they're simple for most of you, but keep in mind I'm a technology dinosaur. So learning how to do Voxer and then Discord, and it's been a learning curve for me. I mean, really, it's not that hard, but getting me to do it. So anyway, it's been a rewarding experience is what I'm trying to get at. I've made a lot of friends here on BookTube over the last 3 years. Several of you, we email back and forth, and we Voxer back and forth, and we set up buddy reads for different periods of the year. And so anyway, I guess long story short, people, I am trying to tell you thank you for this wonderful experience, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So anyway, let's talk about let's talk about my reading from last year, because I really meant to do a top 10 video for fiction, a top 10 video for nonfiction. I meant to do just a reading in general, how many books I got read, page counts, all that kind of stuff, like a statistics video, and I didn't get it done. Like I said, it's been almost 3 weeks since I put out that last video. So let me give you kind of the quick rundown, and then hopefully what I want to do for Monday and Wednesday is put out a top 10 video for books I read in 2022. They won't be new releases in 2022 just because I read a lot of older stuff. So it'll just be for that year, the best stuff I read. So anyway, let me give you my rundown on books. First of all, the year 2022, I read more total books in 2022 than I'm pretty positive I have ever read, at least since I've been doing detailed. I have a Google Doc where I keep everything of what I've read. How many pages, who's the author, title, and the date that I read those. I've kept that pretty pretty accurately since the year 2017. And I know since 2017, I read more books this year than I ever have. My grand total was 107 books. Now, with that being said, I was doing my my middle grade challenge to myself, where I was reading a lot of middle grade books for the kids. So granted, a lot of those books were, 150 to 250 page books. They were smaller books, but it's still an achievement, 107 books. So just a real quick rundown. In the month of January 2022, I read 4 books for a total of 1,570 pages. 2 of those were good-sized books. February, 7 books, 1,617 pages. March, 8 books, 2,276 pages. April, 10 books, 2619 for page count. 6 books in May, 2757. Now, for that first part of the year, you got to understand, as a teacher, we're pretty busy, in the wrap-up session, and then I'm coaching track and just trying to wrap up our year, and there's a lot of stuff that goes in especially the last month and a half of school. And so my numbers are not, like 4, 7, 8, 10's not bad, 6 in the month of May. Those numbers aren't like super great, but a lot of that is because of what was going on at school, and I just don't have as much time to read. But with that being said, I also read a couple of really big books. I was finishing up some pretty good sized books during that time. So that's also a part of the reason that my overall just book number, if anybody's really even worried about that, but my book number was down because they were bigger books. So we get into the month of June and my reading really picked up. I had a really good summer of reading. I read 10 books in June, 10 books in July. Part of that was June on the Range. I read some Westerns. They're smaller books. In July, I was finishing, July and August both, I read 10 more books in August. I was finishing up a bunch of middle grade books that I'd had stacked up. September, which is really that, we start school in August, but it really gets going in September. And so my book count, and of course I'm coaching football and stuff, my book count dropped to 8 books. But then in October, I had 10 books. Now, that can be, I can tell you why that was. My wife had went out to Colorado to help her sister with some stuff at her house, and she was gone for 3 weeks, a month, something like that. I can't even remember how long she was gone. I know she left right after my birthday in the middle of October, and then was there. Was she gone 4 weeks? She may have been gone 4 weeks. But anyway, so October's book count went up because I didn't have anybody at home. My wife and my daughter were gone, so I was a bachelor for that time period. So I had 10 in October, 14 in November. So that's why that kind of spiked. And then in December, I read 10 more books. So like I said, a total of 107 books. Grand total of 34,239 pages. Now, I do need to go back and look at, just for curiosity's sake, because I'm a stat nerd, how does that compare to 2017, 18, 19, 20, and 21? Just kind of for comparison's sake. But when you look at the figures of 107 books, 65 of those were fiction and 42 of those were nonfiction. So I did correct, like in 2021, I think 3/4 of my books were fiction. Whereas in years prior to that, it had always been about 2/3 of them were nonfiction. And so I've kind of flipped things, but I corrected it just a little bit here in 2022, where I read a few more nonfiction books than what I had been reading the previous year. If you're curious on page counts, for the 65 fiction books, 19,945 pages, and it averaged out to just over 306 pages a book. And then for my nonfiction, 42 books, 14,294 pages, and that averaged out to about 340 pages per book. And the whole grand total of 107 books averaged 320 pages per book. And I think that's close to what last year's average was. So anyway, that was my reading year for 2022. Now, like I said, I do have some top 10 lists that I would like to present. I did have, if you're curious about just large books, because some people are, like the March of the Mammoth type books, 800 pages or more. So last year I read one book that was in the 800 page range, two books that was in the 900 page range, two books that was in the 1,000 to 1,100 page range, and then I did read one 1,499 page, almost, or no, it wasn't 1,499, from 1,400 to 1,499. So it was in the 1,400s. I read one in that range. So I did get, what is that, a grand total of 6 mammoths read last year, which was, I thought, pretty good. And of course, I'm in the middle of a couple more mammoths. So that is something that's going to continue for me in my reading. So anyway, that was my 2022 stats. If you have any more questions on just statistical stuff, I can kind of fill you in, because I like to mess around with stats. So anyway, that was my reading year. And like I said, I hope to bring some top 10 videos for you. I know I'm a couple weeks past due on those, but better late than never. So what have I been reading? All right, so first of all, I finished after the first... Ooh, buddy, excuse me. Oh, man. I finished after the first week of Historathon, which is a reading event put on by Vin at Revenant Reads, and there's several of us co-hosts. And the first quarter of the year, we're reading history books, nonfiction history books that go from the time period of prehistory all the way to 500 AD. And so I read the Babylonians, an introduction, and that was a pretty good little introduction. It was a slim volume. I enjoyed it. I'm going to do, at the end of the month, I'm going to do a Historathon monthly wrap-up. I believe that's my goal for myself anyway. And I'll present that book to you and show you what that book looked like, and tell you a little bit more about that book. But I did finish that book. And I will probably do an end of the month reading wrap up, since I haven't done a weekly reads to kind of keep you updated. So I'm not going to talk about all the books I've already finished. I do know that last year, according to my stats, I only read 4 books in the month of January. And this year I have finished, was it 5 or 6 already? And I have a couple more that are going to be done in the next day or two. So my statistics are going up if you're a stat nerd. So anyway, what have I been reading? Here's one that I've been reading. I've been reading James Michener's Centennial, and I've been reading probably anywhere from 15 to 30 pages a day, right in that range. I've been kind of using the breaks in the reading. He usually puts a, in the chapter, when he moves to a new setting or a new event, he puts a little break between the readings. And so I'll read one thing. It's, anywhere from 15 to 20 pages, 10 to 20 pages, I guess. And I've been reading that every morning, and then I move on to a different book. And so I've been reading this every single day, and I hope to, over time, get this chunked and finished. And I am very much enjoying this. Thank you to everybody who suggested, when I was asking in the comments, this has been probably a couple years ago, when I was asking for suggestions of James Michener's books, which ones to read first. There were a lot of people that said Centennial, and then there were a lot of people that said, and it's around here somewhere, Hawaii, which I started. I got it just barely started, and I'm going to read that one after I get done with this. I just thought it was too much to do both at once. So I kind of put that one on hold, but it will be read before the end of the year also. But thank you to everybody who suggested this. I know there were a lot of people that said you need to read Alaska, you need to read Texas, you need to read Chesapeake. There were a bunch of them that got suggested, but this was one of them that had more people than any other. Had one of the highest votes, and I'm really glad I'm reading it. It's so good. I am. Let's see, getting ready to start this chapter 7, The Massacre, which is, about 350 pages in. And it is really good. We had a couple go on the Oregon Trail, and they're all getting settled right there in Colorado, and they're meeting up with the Pasquinels, who, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, but they were a fur trapping family that married with some Native Americans that were out in the Colorado area, and the two families are now meeting up, and you got an interesting storyline. Michener, he spins a good yarn. I thoroughly enjoy it, very well researched. So that's one book I've been really into every day. Here's another one that I started because I actually found this book. I want to say I got it off the library cart for $1, but I think that's where I got it. But I really liked the cover. It was 150th anniversary of Alice in Wonderland, and I had never read the book. Of course, there's been umpteen million movies made out of it, but I had actually never sat down and read this. And so I've been trying to do that a little bit, read those old classics, those old classics that everybody talks about, that or you read to your kids, or you watch the movies with your kids, and that I have never read. I've been trying to go back and do that. Like I picked up somewhere on the shelf over here, I've got Pinocchio, which I've never read. I've seen, the Disney movie, the cartoon movie, and there's been other remakes of it, but I've never read the book. And so I've been trying to, fix some of those issues. So Alice in Wonderland, I did finish this. When did I finish this? Was this last weekend? Last Sunday, I think I finished Alice in Wonderland, and now I'm on the second part, Through the Looking Glass. And so I'm reading that second part of the book. I'll be honest, I don't know that I'm a fan. I think it's, especially Alice in Wonderland, I think it was kind of a dumb story. I hope I'm not stepping on too many toes, but not really. I'm understanding it. I just don't like the story very much. But I'm going to plow through it, and I'll probably keep the book just because it's got a really cool cover. That might be a cover keep. And maybe my daughter will want to read it, down the line. Another book that I started that I need to get back to, I haven't read as much with it because I've been trying to hammer out some of Centennial, is the second book that I picked up for, actually this is the third book that I picked up for Historathon 2023, the first quarter, and it's a biography by Stacy Schiff over Cleopatra. And I was enjoying what I was reading so far. Let's see, how far am I? I'm like 75 pages in. I just stopped because you guys that are mood readers will understand this. You know how when you sit down, sometimes you sit down with some nonfiction and your mind is just not there. And I had to pick up some fiction instead. I couldn't concentrate. Found myself reading a couple, 3 pages and then not even knowing what I read and having to go back and reread. And I hate when that happens. And so I just basically had a mental block, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so I put that down, and I'm going to be going back to that very soon. I'm going to finish this other Historathon 2023 book, the second book that I had started. I'm going to finish this, and I should have it either finished today or tomorrow, one of the two, because I'm at the very end. And then I'll go back to Cleopatra, and I'll start hammering through that. But this book, absolutely awesome. Lost Cities, Ancient Tombs, introduction by Douglas Preston, and the general editor is Ann R. Williams. And this basically goes through archaeology's best finds. It's the top 100 finds in archaeology. And this thing is just chock full of pictures that help to show what they're talking about, and it hits just about every major thing you could think of. I just got done reading about the Incas, Machu Picchu. That was the one I just finished. I read about Angkor Wat. I read about the Mayan ruins. There's just a whole bunch. The Cahokia Indian mounds outside of St. Louis. They just got all kinds of stuff. And they went back to ancient Rome. They went back to ancient Greece. They went to Mesopotamia, India. I read about in Japan when Kublai Khan sent the Chinese Navy in all his army across to try to conquer Japan. They've been trying to uncover in the ocean, trying to uncover some of they found some of the ships from that armada, and that was really cool. Read about in Australia. It was all over Africa from the Egyptians in the pyramids to the Timbuktu. I just read about that one this morning, to some of the stuff down in southern Africa. But anyway, my whole point is the book is covering, it's not like it's just like American based. Most of this is around the world, the bulk of it. And I have thoroughly enjoyed this. And it comes from, it's printed by, you can't see it because of the library label, but National Geographic. And I would highly recommend this to anybody out there who, you might not know a lot about ancient stuff, but you kind of get interested. These chapters are anywhere from 3 and 4 to 6, 7 page chapters, and it's extremely readable. And I don't know, this is a book. If I find it, I'm going to buy it. If I can find it used, I'm going to buy this book. It's a $35 book, so I probably won't buy it new, but if I find it used, I'm going to pick it up, because this has given me so many jump-off points of things to go study. It's made me want to read about Easter Island. It's made me want to read more about Machu Picchu. It's made me, the list goes on, and it's piqued my interest, and it would be a nice little reference item to have on my shelf. And it would also be nice to, the articles are small enough that when I talk about stuff in my classes at school, I could use those articles to help explain stuff. So anyway, again, highly recommend that book. Super fast read. It's 500 pages, but super fast. It does not read like a 500-page book. It reads like a 200-page book. That's how fast it reads. So anyway, that's what I've been working on this last week. There's been a couple other things I've dipped in and out of. I've had a couple of audio books going. Maybe I should mention, if you've never listened to Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, you need to listen to that. I'd seen movies and all that kind of stuff, but I'd never actually sat down and listened to it. It's like a 96-page book or so. I listened to it on audio while I was doing the dishes and absolutely loved it. That was a great book, and just Washington Irving's descriptions of Ichabod Crane just made me laugh out loud as I was doing the dishes in the morning. And I highly recommend that. That's probably something, if I can find a cheap copy, I'll probably, next time I go to Barnes & Noble, I'm sure they've got like an $8 or $10 copy. I'm going to get a nice copy for my library, and it's going to become a every October read. I think that's what I'm going to do with it. I think that'll be a seasonal one that I pick up every October. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Highly recommend it. And then I'm also reading a book called Where I Belong. And it is, I'm not reading, excuse me, I'm listening to. That's the new audio I'm doing while I'm doing the dishes. Highly recommend it so far anyway. It's about a little girl, or not little girl, a teenage girl who's a senior in high school, actually. And she's talking about her immigrant experience. And she lives in Texas, and how she's about ready to go off to school in Stanford, clear across the country. And she has gained citizenship, but she faces a lot of issues that are pretty typical for immigrants coming to the United States. And it pulls no punches. It's pretty blunt about, divides between the rich and the poor, and the citizens versus non-citizens, and the, family money versus poverty. There's all kinds of things being discussed in it. It's called Where I Belong, and I can't remember the name of the author right off the top of my head, but I highly recommend it. It's a YA book. It was on, where did I get that? It was on a reading list that I found, and I wanted to give it a try, and I'm glad I am. So anyway, I'm kind of rambling, but I'm going to wrap this video up with a mail haul. All right, so first of all, I want to have a little shout out to my friend Paul Sally, who lives in St. Louis. He has, if you follow the channel, he has sent me quite a few books that he's found, used books that he's found at the store. And I really appreciate that. I've done some haul videos, some mail haul videos from him, and I really appreciate it. And he just outdid himself this last time. He sent me a brand new book that he actually authored. It's a biography. It's called Little Wing, the Jimmy McCulloch story. And I'll be honest, I don't know the history of musicians and stuff like this. So it's going to be a new one for me. But I like a good biography. And when I was looking him up online, because I didn't realize Paul was an author, And so that was really cool. And when I was looking up some videos about this online, I found that it is considered one of the best biographies on, well, it might even be the only one, but it's one of the best musician biographies out there. It's, I think, the only one on Jimmy McCulloch. But you'll notice this thing, high quality, chocked full of photos to go with the text. And I think it's going to end up being probably a fairly quick read just because of, you know, all of the photos. But I am looking forward to jumping into this because I like a good biography, and there's no reason I can't stretch my reading boundaries and get into a little bit of music. So thank you, Paul. I really appreciate that. That was awesome. I was not expecting that at all. And I know I haven't sent you a thank you an email yet. I kind of fell behind on email and also fell behind on comments section. So if you've sent me one and then you find a message like a week later, sorry. Like I said, life has been a little bit busy. I do plan on answering all of them, so I will get back to you. But anyway, thank you, Paul, for that. And then let me show you what I got in the mail for my Christmas haul. This was my Christmas haul. I got this box set of Agatha Christie mysteries because I do not, I don't own these, and I wanted them in this new form. Pretty excited about this. So these are the Miss Marple series. So I wanted to have these in my collection. We've been reading these. Peg and Martine have been reading these a Marple a month. I am one Marple ahead of them because they'd had some sickness hit the house, and so they weren't able to get their December one done. So they're reading it right now, but that was okay because it gave me a chance to get my books in. But let me show you these. I won't read descriptions or anything, but I just want to quickly show them to you. This is Murder at the Vicarage, so that's the very first one in the series. Here is The Body in the Library. That was a really good one. I enjoyed that. Here is The Moving Finger. That was a good one. Those covers just pretty cool. They're from HarperCollins. A Murder is Announced. That will be the next one. And this one, I think Martine said this one is excellent. It is one of her best ones. Now, you'll notice that the cover's a little wrinkled on this, the corner, and that is totally my fault because this is a cheap box set, and the flap in there, when I went to put the books in there, the corner caught on the flap and bent the book, and so that was my bad. And so what I went and did, put some tape in there so I wouldn't do that again because I want to keep it all together. But the last one is Sleeping Murder. So those are all, like I said, Miss Marples. And if you don't remember, my goal on the channel is to read one Marple and one Hercule Poirot every month. And since they are behind by one book on the Marple series, I think when I get done with Alice in Wonderland, what I'm going to do, or excuse me, Through the Looking Glass, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read another Hercule Poirot so that I'm getting a couple Marples done every month. And yeah, thoroughly enjoying that. So this has been a very long-winded update video. BookTube, I hope you don't mind, but I hadn't talked to you for a while, so I figured it was due. So if you've stuck with me this long, I really appreciate it. I miss you guys. Sorry about not making the videos. I just got to get a schedule set, and then I will start putting those together pretty regularly. Or I hope anyway. That's my goal. Hopefully it's not a couple, 3 more weeks before I talk to you. So anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Go out and check out Historathon 2023. It's been wonderful reading the older part of history. It's all new to me. And also, by the way, I found a whole bunch of books at school. We are getting ready to start some history projects, and it's going to be based all around civil rights in the 20th century. Long story short, I was looking on the shelves, digging out some resources for them, and I found a stack of books that will go really, really well with this first quarter of Historathon that I think I'm going to put into the mix of my reading. And so I'm going to do another TBR video, I guess, or maybe possibilities video. That's probably a better way of putting it. But I'm going to put that out there as well. So anyway, BookTube, be looking forward to that. Thank you for all, like I said, all the new subscribers. And if you've gotten this far in the video, thank you. So anyway, hope everyone has a great weekend. Happy reading.